Ever feel like English grammar is a giant puzzle with a million tiny pieces? Well, today we're going to put some of the most important pieces together. We're going to master the core rules for nouns, verbs, and articles, and we'll do it in a really clear step-by-step way. Ready? Let's dive in.
So take a look at this. An egg, some rice, two keys, some advice. On the surface, they all seem pretty different, don't they? But what if I told you there's one simple grammar rule that connects every single one of them? Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what it is.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the most fundamental question: can you count it? Then, we'll see how that simple idea affects our verbs. After that, we'll get into those tricky little words a, an, and the. And to finish it all off, we'll give you a super handy cheat sheet to remember everything. All right, first up, can you count it? Now, this might sound like a really basic question, but trust me, the answer to this unlocks pretty much everything else we're going to talk about today. It all starts right here with nouns.
Okay, so in English, nouns basically fall into two big buckets. On one side, we have countable nouns. These are things you can literally count, like one key, two keys. Simple enough. They have a singular form and a plural form. But on the other side, we have uncountable nouns, things like spaghetti or freedom. You can't really say one spaghetti or two freedoms, right? They just have one form. Seriously, getting this difference down is the absolute most important step.
So, since countable nouns have plurals, let's just quickly look at how that works. For most regular ones, you just add an S or IES at the end. Jacket becomes jackets. But, English just loves its exceptions. We have these things called irregular plurals. So, child becomes children, foot becomes feet, and weirdly, one sheep is still many sheep. These are ones you kinda just have to memorize.
So what kind of stuff can't we count? Well, you can see a pattern here. A lot of foods, liquids, and materials fall into this category. But what's really important are abstract ideas like love or justice. Think about it. You can't have three knowledges, right? And the same goes for other common words like news, advice, and luggage.
Okay, so we've got our two types of nouns sorted. But why does it matter so much? Well, because, as we're about to see, it totally changes which verbs we pair them with. It's all about making your words agree.
And you know what? The main rule here is actually super simple. For countable nouns, the verb just follows the noun. If the noun is singular, the verb is singular. The book is. If the noun is plural, the verb is plural. The books are. But here's the best part. With uncountable nouns, it's even easier. They always take a singular verb. It's always sugar is fattening, never sugar are.
Now, of course, English has to have a few tricky cases, right? Some words look plural because they end in S, but we treat them as singular. Words for school subjects like mathematics or physics. We say mathematics is my favorite subject. It's the same for certain illnesses. And when we talk about a chunk of time or money as one single unit, we use a singular verb, like 2 years is a long time. Now, group nouns like family or team, these are really interesting. The verb you pick actually depends on what you mean. If you're talking about the family as one cohesive unit, you use a singular verb. My family is very important. But if you're thinking about all the individual people inside the family, each doing their own thing, you switch to a plural verb. My family are all going away next weekend. Okay, here's a question that trips a lot of people up. Why on earth do we say my scissors are sharp? I mean, it's just one object, right? So what's the deal? Well, here's the reason why. Words like trousers, glasses, and scissors are always treated as plural because they're made of two identical parts that work together. The main thing to remember is you always use a plural verb with them. And if you need to talk about just one, you just pop a pair of in front of it, like, I need a new pair of glasses. Okay, nouns and verbs are down. Now let's move on to those tiny but powerful words called articles. We're starting with a and an. They seem to cause a lot of headaches, but trust me, the rules are way simpler than you think. So the number one rule for an is so important. It's not about the letter, it's about the sound a word starts with. If it starts with a consonant sound, you use a, like a pilot. If it starts with a vowel sound, you use n, like an expensive car. And don't forget, we only ever use these with singular, countable nouns. Okay, so what do we do with uncountable nouns or plurals? Easy. You just can't use a or an. You'd never say a flower or a stamps. Instead, you'll often use the word some, or sometimes no word at all. So you'd say, we need some flour. See? This goes right back to that first rule we talked about, whether or not you can count something. And now, for the other side of the coin, the definite article, the. This one is different. If a and an are about any one thing, the is about the specific one. So when do we bust out the? We use it when we're talking about something specific. Maybe it's because we've already mentioned it or because there's only one of them in the whole world, like the sun or the earth. We also have special categories, like for rivers and mountain ranges, hotels and cinemas, and always with superlatives like the biggest or the most intelligent. Knowing when not to use the is just as important. The big one is when you're talking about things in general. You say trees produce oxygen, not the trees. We also usually drop it for most countries and cities, for meals, for most illnesses, and when we talk about how we travel, like by plane or by car.
Whew, I know that was a lot, but don't you worry because we're about to pull it all together into a simple, powerful summary that you can use anytime.
Okay, here it is, your grammar cheat sheet. Let's quickly run through it. First up, unaccountable nouns, always a singular verb. Advice is helpful. Second, group nouns. The verb depends on if you mean a single unit or individuals. Third, a and an are only for singular countable nouns. And finally, the is your go-to word for being specific. Nail these 4, and you're well on your way. So there you have it. The secret isn't about memorizing a million different rules. It's about understanding one core idea. Can you count it? Once you get that, everything else, the verbs, the articles, it all starts to click into place. So my challenge to you is this. What's one sentence you can build right now with more confidence? Think about it. Thanks for watching.